Welcome to
I thought y'all knew.
I am your host, Tyrone Bridges. Let's get it.
Never saw it coming. Yet he 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 never saw it coming.
A little bit in the light of my life.
There it goes again.
Welcome to I Thought You Knew. I am your host, Tyrone Bridges, and I have a very special guest with me today, Miss Leah Mills Chapman. Say hello, Leah.
Hello to everyone. How you doing, Tyrone?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good.
Without further ado, let's get it. Tell me why you're running.
So the reason that I'm running is because I see a lot of unaddressed issues that's happening within the district in which I live. So first, let's look at this district. District 5 encompasses the Ypsilanti Township, a portion of the Ypsilanti Township area. Majority of our West Willow neighborhood. And then you kind of take that thing all the way back to Augusta Township. So it's a pretty wide and vast area of coverage. And so there is a diversity in the need, right? But what I will say is that the overarching conversations that I've been hearing, I've gone out to Augusta Township. I've spoken with some of the administrators there within their township hall, as well as talking with some of the community members within Ypsi Township. Definitely have been to some of the meetings out there at the Ypsilanti Township trustee meetings. And so what I'm hearing is that there is a lack of resources in both spaces. They might look different, right? Some of the issues that's going on out in the Ypsilanti Township area where I do live versus what's going on out in Augusta Township, they may vary in nature on its face, but for the most part, it's all dealing with the lack of resources. So when people ask me like, Leah, why are you doing this? Is because I believe that as human beings, we need to all have our needs met. There's basic needs. When we're looking at Maslow's hierarchy of need, like at the bottom, you got stuff, that's just simple. Like I need food, I need shelter, I need these basic, right, fundamental things for me to be able to grow and for me to be able to thrive. And it's not happening here in Washtenaw County. It's inequitable. Right? They talk about the 23 divide. That 23 divide is real, right? What's going on the western side of the county, especially in your Ann Arbor and Pittsfield and right, those spaces, access to good, healthy resources, foods, all of those things are present in their community. For the eastern side of the county, we got to travel to get it, right? For me, Tyrone, I got to travel outside of my area, outside of my county most times to go to Western Wayne County to be able to take care of my needs, right? And that's not okay. Not when I'm paying taxes here and not when the other, right, residents and individuals within this area, they are paying into this system and they're not being afforded the same sorts of resources. And that's not okay for me. And additionally, I will say another reason near and dear to my heart. I'm a clinical therapist, or for some, just looking at it as a clinical social worker. And so I have worked with a vast amount of our, residents and those individuals that are just living here within the population, service them through Washtenaw County Community Mental Health. And listening to a lot of the stories, fighting for a lot of the families in various systems, our judicial system, our educational system, our health system. It's like egregious offenses that occur, and our people are left helpless and sometimes hopeless. And so there was a millage that was implemented about 5 years or so ago. And amidst this millage, individuals thought that some of the needs, especially the mental health needs, would definitely be enhanced, right? The resources for those needs would be enhanced, especially over COVID, right? COVID kind of really hit hard for individuals and their mental health waned.
Mhm.
And when we look at this millage, yet again, there is a lot of controversy that's going into this about how much of that millage funding was given to CMH where it needed to be, in my opinion, versus it going about 2/3 or so of it going over to the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office and looking at it from a public safety standpoint. And yet again, in this millage, public safety was to be addressed. So I'm not taking anything from that. But the discussion was very heavily on mental health and the needs that are within our system as well as within our community. And we're still lacking greatly. So those are some of the things that have motivated me to run for Washtenaw County Commissioner for District 5.
All right. And the current commissioner for District 5 is who?
The current commissioner is Justin Hodge. He is also the board chair for Washtenaw County Board of Commission.
Right. Okay. And how many people is vying for this position, District 5?
So when we're looking at it just from like a partisan standpoint, so meaning, just looking at it from the Democratic standpoint, right? There's 3 Democrats. So it's myself, it's the incumbent, again, who's Justin Hodge, as well as Ronnie Peterson. He too is also vying for the Democrat seat. Yes.
Hmm.
And
Wasn't
then
he
there's
once
2 Republicans that
wasn't he
are
once
also
a,
going to be running.
wasn't he
Mhm.
once a commissioner before, and then he was a state rep?
He was, yes. He had been on the commissioner board prior, as well as he had become the state rep for this particular area prior to Jimmy Wilson taking that seat. Yes.
Okay. All right. Tell us your vision and tell us what you plan to accomplish when you become commissioner.
So I have 3 major priorities, Tyrone, that I've been looking at. And so again, I kind of talked a little bit about one, and that is mental health. If our mind ain't right, nothing else is going to be right, right? It adversely affects our physical health. It adversely affects our desire and want, right, to move our lives forward, right? We can all have goals. We can all have dreams. And if our mental health isn't intact, it squelches, right? And kind of suppresses the desire to want to just have a fruitful life. And so that is one of my priorities, is looking at the reallocation of funds towards a heavier percentage going towards mental health. And yes, we have a millage that's coming up, and it really does not end for another just shy 2 years. And so I know that right now they're really trying to kind of forward this reinstitution or re-implementation, like making certain that all of this is crafted out before it even ends. And I'm not one who likes to move super fast if we're not looking at all of the issues and if we're not keeping in account the concerns of the people. So I'm very big and very heavy on community and making certain that everybody has their voice to be honored. It's not going like that. It tends to be this top-down approach, right? With certain individuals that are already sitting in administrative seats, making the decisions for the people without the input of the people. That's problematic for me. So when you say, what am I looking to do on my platform? I am looking to, in the mental health space, as well as looking at the safer communities, right? Looking at how is it that we continue on the eastern side of the county, especially looking at, the usage of firearms within our area. It's through the roof, right? Homicides
Yes, it is.
have increased, Tyrone. 146%. I was just at a community violence intervention or interruption. They call it CVIT work, right? The state of
Mm.
Michigan is heavily promoting this, and
Mm.
Washtenaw County is on board. And don't get me wrong, I am totally down for this level of intervention because we have to have some balance, right? Can't over police neighborhoods. You need the community to be able to go back like we used to back in the day and
Mm.
have a measure of correction that we can do amidst the people in neighborhoods. But here's this though. At this particular conference that I just went to, it was about 2-3 weeks ago. They had various sessions, and in 2 of these sessions, they kind of paralleled each other. And they were talking about the deaths by firearm in Washtenaw County and who it is really adversely affecting, right?
Mm-hmm.
The data was startling because it was throughout the duration of time of our current Washtenaw County sheriff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know him. I can't speak to his character, anything of that nature. I've never formally sat. All I can do is look at the black and white. All I can look at is the data, right? And so looking at what it was talking about was Black, African American, however you want to, label yourself. African Americans or Blacks on the eastern part of Washtenaw County, right, which is the district again that I'm running for, that were male, right? And they were younger males, kind of ranging about mid-20s or so.
Mm-hmm.
That the homicides, Tyrone, increased 146%.
146%. Like it
Starting
never stopped.
like it never stopped, and it just kind of continued to escalate and shoot through the roof. So for me, something is fundamentally not right. Something's not working here. And I can't put it all off on, right, the sheriff's department or, the other, policing entities that's around. We got to look at it from multiple spaces, right? And one big thing is, in my mind's eye, is that if our youth have nothing to do, when I was coming up as a young person, I was told an idle mind
It's the devil's.
is what?
It's the
The devil's workshop, right? And this is not to forward a spiritual or religious sort of, thing. I'm just kind of looking at this when they have nothing to do, mischief ensues, right? If I am struggling, we talk about trauma a lot within, the profession in which I work, but additionally, trauma has become the new buzzword for our county, in our school systems, right? In our healthcare systems, in our judicial systems, our juvenile justice work. We often talk about ACEs, right? The adverse childhood experience. So that's letting me know that there is something that says, if these sorts of traumatic experiences are occurring within my home life, within my community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then more than likely, I'm going to become what I see. I often talk about with people, the soil, just like a plant that you are infused in. If the soil ain't right, then we're going to have, right?
Bad plants.
Death. There you go. There you go. And so from the infrastructure here, we're lacking. We don't have things for our youth to do, right? To keep them into positive activities. We don't have grocery stores where they are fed good, healthy, and wholesome food. We don't have that. You come over there off of Ecorse Road. What we had was, what was that? The store with the cow on
Mm-hmm.
top. I
Mm-hmm.
remember that store when I was coming up as a child because I'm a
Yep.
native of
Mm-hmm.
Ypsilanti. I remember
Me
that
too.
store.
Me too.
If you drive around there right now, it's a for sale sign again.
Yep. It was a meat market, and
Exactly.
they spelled loin wrong.
They did. Yes, indeed, indeed. But even now, that's gone,
Yeah.
right?
Ain't nothing here in Washtenaw County to
Not
do.
on this side. And if you go out to Augusta Township, there's nothing out there, right? And so even with the data, right, that I was talking about and
Mhm.
how they had this extreme increase when we're looking at death by firearm. Additionally, when we look at our older white males in rural areas, that's Augusta Township,
Mhm.
Tyrone, their increase is 56% of an increase of death by suicide by a firearm.
Wow.
So again, right, when we're looking at things, making certain that resources are given and opportunity is given for people to live and to thrive is fundamental. Or else, again, death ensues. Additionally, when we're looking at mental health, and again, just kind of going back to the platform that I'm running on, we're looking at, right, mental health. But a part of mental health, right, is behavioral health, right? Then we're also looking at substance, right, use or dependence.
Mhm.
When you come to this side of the county, yet again, you will see for reparations what was given, and that was cannabis shops.
Hmm.
You can go up the street and hit about 3 almost in a mile span, right? And keep just going through town. In a depressed and deprived environment, when we know from studies how damaging substance use and dependence is to an individual
Mhm.
and their family system, then why would we be giving as an opportunity of repair to marginalized communities? Why would we be giving that as the option?
Wow.
That for me is a problem, right? And so instead, I would like to see a difference in the infrastructure that is implanted within our community that brings life and not death.
Right. Right. So the biggest thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to do more computer work with the
Mhm.
county.
Okay.
And so Justin Hodge, let's take him out the picture.
Okay.
The county promised me last year, around about this time in March,
Mm-hmm.
500 computers and laptops without hard drives.
Okay.
And fast forward up till now, we ain't seen them yet.
Wow.
We ain't seen them yet. These right here,
Yeah.
we got a grant and we purchased these computers. So I'm wondering
Mm-hmm.
if those 500 computers could have been refurbished
Mm-hmm.
as we were doing
Right.
and put back into our county residents' hands,
Yeah. Yeah.
wouldn't that have been a big benefit for county residents and also people who were experiencing mental illness?
So I would definitely say access to technology, of course, is going to be, right, a big
Mhm.
benefit because that's where society has moved into, right? As we look around, there's a diminishment, right, of that one-to-one or that face-to-face access. Even in mental health. We moved over COVID, right? We moved into doing most or a large percentage of our work was done over telehealth, right?
Mm.
And so in the conversations that we have, I didn't share, but I created the Black Lives Matter Task Force for Washtenaw County Community Mental Health, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I did that to be able to honor, the needs of the staff, right? And to challenge and address some institutional racism that was prevalent there. And then additionally, it was to make certain that the community was being handled properly, right? Service
Right.
provision was being done adequately. And just to kind of keep abreast that, in certain communities, mental health needs look differently. And so amidst these conversations with upper management, there has been this great need for diminishing barriers. Technology and the lack thereof, Tyrone, is a huge barrier. So if you would have been able to get those 500 computers in your hand and refurbish those computers and give out to citizens in need, then now they have more access, right, to being able to show up for their mental health appointments. I can't tell you how many individuals have reached out to me, including, again, CMH administrators that are like, hey, what is going on? Why is it that the Black community, they don't show? Well, if they don't have transportation, right, then the only next best option would be them to do their, appointments on computer. But what if they don't even have that? Or what if they don't have, Wi-Fi access? So a lot of these things, again, are fundamental to being able to thrive in today's society. We can't keep looking at life through this antiquated, perspective of the days of old, because it's not like that any longer. And so it is incumbent upon us to continue to press forward, to identify the needs as a community, and to identify those individuals that will be willing to stand for the people as they're presenting their need, right? Because
Right.
I'm not here to talk for people. I love bringing people alongside me, right? I sit in court with people. I don't go to court for people. I sit in spaces with principals and special education teachers and individuals that are also social workers working alongside families, sitting there with them at their IEP meetings or their, meetings for disciplinary action. I'm there with you. And so coming into this seat as commissioner is not, hey, I am right all knowing and I'm going to speak for. No, we're going to do this together, because that is the only way that things are able to make change. So yes, to answer your question, that would have been a huge need. And again, not just for our children, for our seniors as well.
Right.
Our
And now,
seniors need
and now the
access.
landfill sees those computers.
Is that what happened to the computers?
I
Like,
guess
were
I
they?
guess so. They said they were
Wow.
going to the landfill, and they were going to destroy these computers, and these computers they needed a home, and I said we need them. We need them.
Yeah.
And that
Wow.
was around about last year, around about this time. Last communication I had with them was in July. And also I even reached out to Commissioner Robbie, who haven't replied
Hmm.
in October.
Wow. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
reply. No reply. But Commissioner Robbie, you gonna remember those promises that you made to me before you got in that seat.
Wow. Yeah.
Just want to let y'all know that they did make that promise to me. And the county reached out to me by themselves because they knew I was doing great work. The technology department.
Yeah. I think that we need to definitely increase partnerships, right? And I will say that on one front, there has been an increase of using smaller businesses and organizations, but we need to look at how that process is done, right? So yes, it's honorable and it's noble, But if it's not equitable, which is the other and the third priority that is, being forwarded a part of my campaign process, is looking at equity and inclusion along with access, right? And so it's not just about who's so-and-so's friend. It's not about that. We shouldn't have the same people receiving funding or receiving resources that can assist the community as a whole. It needs to be an equitable process that is across the board, that does not allow for bias to creep in, right? If I don't like you, then you're out of the picture. No.
It
And
shouldn't be
again, we
like
all
that.
have bias. Would you say?
It shouldn't be like that.
It should not be like that. And for me, that's just not okay. That's one of the reasons that I fight so hard, right, for individuals, and I show up in spaces, is because I don't like for people to be mistreated. And so, when we're looking at the procedures of, being able to garner access to things, we need to make certain that, again, that it's equitable and it's across the board. So for instance, when we're looking at contracts, right, the funding is there. We have these millage dollars or, other pots of money that may be present. When individuals are writing proposals for these things and let's say they're able to receive, they've gotten the votes to kind of move this thing through because they see good utility for the work that they do, then we also need to make certain that we look at, right, when we talk about equity, it's not fairness per se, right? It is the reality that, hey, I might have to give a little bit more for these individuals who have been left behind for centuries, right? We
Yep.
might have to give a little bit more. And so when looking at the contracts, I'm seeing that it's a reimbursement contract. So if we have been deprived, if you come back to our communities and we see that there's lack and we just want to be there to try to do and to help as best as we can, then that means your contract needs to honor the fact that these are grassroots entities that may not have the startup funding. And so when you have a reimbursement contract, that means I got a promissory note that I can't cash because I might not have the dollars, but I have the heart, right? I have the skill set, right? Being able to refurbish a computer. Everyone doesn't have that opportunity or that knowledge or skill set to do such a thing.
None of them out there do. None of them. None of
Yeah.
them.
I
None
can't
of
build
them.
a motherboard, Tyrone. I can't do it.
None of them.
Yeah. And so it's those sorts of things that I feel need to be looked at, addressed, and right, tailored in an equitable manner to make certain that this larger corporation who may have millions of dollars already sitting in their coffers and this smaller entity that's doing good work has access to at least be able to get off the ground running. And then we can look at a sustainability model beyond that. But allow me the access in the beginning. And a lot of that's not taking place. So that's problematic for me. Yeah.
Yes. The access and all of the above. So let them know how they can reach you and how they can support your campaign.
So
Let them know.
So to be able to access my campaign and to, get to know a little bit more about me, if you look at some or the typical political campaign website, it's very brief, right? It's not a whole lot that you will see and or hear through the written language about that person. Tyrone, mine is a bit different. I need people to really know and understand that I come from here and I come from a lot of the circumstances that you might be facing. That's hard, right? And I share it because sometimes it helps to know and feel a little better that you're not going through this thing alone. And when you're looking at individuals, and I don't consider myself a politician, but of course, when I get in the seat, I will be considered as such, right? But I
Mhm.
see myself as a servant of the people, right? A servant leader for the people. But I need the people to know that Leah is just a human who has been going through life and struggling just like everybody else, right? I'm no different. I'm just living out what I believe is my divine purpose, my divine assignment that God has said, all right, Leah, now is the time,
Mm.
right? So on my website, I just kind of wanted to preface that to say on my website, you're going to see my highs and my lows. You're going to see that I was a single mother, right, of two, and had to rob from Peter to pay Paul, right, to kind of figure it out and not know necessarily how I was going to be able to make my rent and live, right? And
Right.
potentially having to move outside of the very county that I work in because I cannot afford to live here, right?
Mm.
And so again, I had to share that I'm given the raw and the real. And the real is that Leah is no different than any other citizen, any other human being that is out here struggling. Our, realities might not parallel exactly the same. I never say that I'm just like you because I'm not. We've all had our experiences, but I would often say that I have touched in some of the spaces that have been difficult and hard within this society, within this county. And my heart is where the people are. So I can be reached. My website is www.voteleah, Leah, Mills, Mills, Chapman with a P, CHAPMAN.com. So www.voteleahmillschapman.com. And all of my information is there. Additionally, I am doing a huge fundraising push right now where I call it the 3x3x3, Tyrone, because we know sadly that to get into this political arena, to be able to help people out, you got to pay to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's horrible, right? Because then it doesn't always, right, come down to or boil down to the better individual. We all are flawed. I'm flawed, right? But to get the person in there that at least, right, is able to understand and have a measure of insight into some of the needs that the people are dealing with. That if you don't have the money, you left out the game. That's a problem. So I'm doing a fundraiser at this point, and it's called again the 3x3x3. I am looking for 300 people to sacrifice $300 in 30 days so that I can get on this ground and get to running and make this thing happen. And keeping our community at the helm. So I'm doing that. I have another fundraiser that will be coming up. Cuppies on Washtenaw, the owner there, Andrea, is throwing me a fundraiser where I'll be able to, meet, greet people. We're going to have a Q&A. We're going to have an interview. It's, again, centered on the people. So this is a people-powered movement. And I'm hoping that, the listening audience will join on, will share, will talk to people, reach out to me. I'll come and meet you and your people, right? And we can just sit down and I can hear from you as much as you're able to connect with me. So that's where I am, T.
All right. What's your email address, and also how could they reach you by phone?
Okay. So my email address is info@voteleahmillschapman.com. So
Right.
info, that little at symbol, VoteLeahMillsChapman.com. The phone number that I can be reached at is, I have two different ones, one for myself, one for my assistant, 734-480-8065. Again, that's 734-480-8065. The other 734-210-1132. The first one is probably a better number to reach me, and I am responsive. So try me there. If not, do reach out to the second number and we will make that connection happen.
All right. Now we will be recreating this video and adding the text for her information, just to let y'all know. And if anything else that you would like to say to the public before we let you go.
Before you let me go, the biggest thing is vote. And even if you're not in my district, right? Share this information with those that you know that live in the area. Here's the thing. Voter education is necessary. And a lot of times we don't think that we have a voice. So here's the educational part. When you fill out either your absentee ballot or you go to those polls, that is now your voice. When we don't engage in this process, right, all we have then is disappointment, because the system is going to keep doing what the system does. And again, for centuries, we've been kept back, right?
Right.
The rural areas have had lack. So if we do not make it to those polls, or when those absentee ballots roll in, and even before the absentee ballot, sign up, register to vote, then get you an absentee ballot if you don't want to make it and stand out there in the polls. And the polls, Tyrone, are getting shorter and shorter every time I go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so it could be for various reasons, right? Not wanting to stand in that line. Some individuals, right, especially our elders, you know, it's easier, it's more accessible. So that's a beautiful means of accessibility. But we want to make sure whatever means you vote, please do it, because your voice matters. And we can't sit around and be upset when we don't have, when the opportunity is for us to be able to put people in place that's going to fight for them. And that's me. And that is me.
There you have it. And I do believe 100% that she's a fighter for you. She's a fighter for you. She's a fighter for me. And she's a fighter for everybody in Washtenaw County. So thank you for coming on the show, Leah Chapman, Leah Mills Chapman. I'm just trying to get used to saying that. You know, I used to always call you Leah Mills. But Washtenaw County Commissioner candidate, District 5. District 5. District 5. Make sure you vote.
West Willow, Sugarbrook, right? Off of Textile, Whitaker Road area, all the way back to your Talladay Road, and a little bit probably beyond that, right? Lincoln School District, those areas. Yes, that would be the district that I would be able to assist if you vote for me. August 6th, primary. Don't wait till November. It's going to be too late. We got to do this August 6th.
August 6th. August 6th. That's a Tuesday.
It's a
Everybody
Tuesday.
go ahead and vote. This is Leah Chapman Mills. This is Leah Mills Chapman. Just trying to let y'all know y'all need to vote for her. Vote for her for County Commissioner District 5. 5. All right, Leah, I'll talk with you later. And you have a pleasant night.
You do the same, Tyrone. Thank you again for having me. Have a beautiful evening.
All right, you too. Peace.
All right.